Hi everyone, you guys are welcome back to this tutorial, and in today's tutorial we're going to go deep into DAX functions, and we're going to learn how to create insightful visualizations in Power BI using this retail data set. So I know you guys know this is your assignment, and I'm going to ask you guys questions from it, but yeah, we're just going to go through it as usual. You know, the first thing I always do, try to go through the data set first just to have an understanding of it. So here I have transaction ID, which is basically like a unique identifier for each transaction. So we have one all the way to only God knows what. But anyway, next one we have the date of the transaction. Then we have customer ID, so unique identifier for every customer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gender, the gender of every customer, the age of a customer. Product ID, product category, sorry. So beauty, clothing, electronics. I think there are only 3 categories in this set. It's actually really small. The quantity is number of units that have been purchased. Price per unit is basically the price of every product. And then total amount is basically quantity times the price per unit. So price per unit can also be called cost, because that's basically the cost of the particular item. Now, since I've seen it and I know what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go straight into Power BI and we're just going to load it. Okay, so I'm just going to open my Power BI and I'm just going to open a blank report, and this is with a little. Okay, so anyway, as we all know, I don't think I have to just explain this part, but yeah, I'm just going to get data, and I'm going to get data from my Excel workbook. Because of retail sales data set is an Excel file. So I saved in my downloads. I'm just going to go and select it. Okay. So I'm just going to click on, next thing it's going to do is going to try to give me the option to load my data set. Now I'm going to transform it because I want to make sure that every column, the data types are correct. And if I need to create an extra column, anyway, let's just go to it. So I'm just going to click on transform data. We've already seen in Excel, that's why I didn't even wait for it to load. So yeah, it brings us to Power Query Editor as usual. And yeah, that should just open up and then we can just go through it. So my transaction ID is a number, which is correct. Date is calendar, date type. Customer ID is also text, which is correct. Gender is text. Age is numbers. Category is text. This is also numeric. But because this is price, I really want to change it. So I'm just going to change it to fix a small number. Fix a small number because I like when I'm dealing with money, I like it to be a fixed decimal. So it's the same thing with this. I'm going to come here and just change it, and we're going to replace current. Now this price per unit, we can use it, but I don't know, should I change it to cost? I mean, the quantity times price per unit is basically your total, and this is actually cost. You know what, let's just leave it. Okay, so we're just going to close and apply. Now if at this stage you decide you want to add a column, you can actually add a column, but I've closed it, so I'm just going to add the column in Power BI. Okay, so anyway, let's go back to what we're trying to get. Okay, it's trying to load it hasn't finished. Let's just wait a little. Anyway, it has just loaded into our Power BI. So the first thing I'm going to do, like we did last week, and you guys are aware, we did DAX. So because it's your assignment, we are basically doing DAX and doing some visualizations. So I'm just going to do some of it, and you guys can just follow step by step what I'm doing, and then you can make your own. Using your dashboard or your report at the end, I will put the assessment, and then you will answer questions using your dashboard, just like the first one. Okay, so first thing I want to do is, as usual, the one I like to create first is total sales. Total sales, we have total amount. Let's just go back to our table. I have total amount, I have price per unit, I have quantity. I want to know total quantity that we sold of everything, even based on categories. I want to know distribution between male, female, who are our customers. Do we have more men, more women? I want to know the age range as well of our target customers, or at least people that patronize us the most. I also want to check dates. My data just shows 2023. I don't know, I think I should have at least some 2024. Okay. Do we have any 2024? Oh yeah, we just have one day in 2024, which is January. So anyway, I also want to know the categories that are performing the best. I want to know price per unit, cost of every item, and profit margin. Can we really know profit margin from this? Because we have sales, we don't have profit, so we can't really know. Anyway, so we're just going to start. So for the ones that we have, we're just going to start with them. First thing I want to do is I want to create a column, because I have this age thing here, and if I say I'm going to represent all these numbers, just imagine what my visual will look like. We have 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It will look like a rubbish bar chart. So to make it easier and to help us understand it better, organize it better, we normally create a new column. So by creating a new column, you basically have another column that helps you categorize it, and you can just use that column to continue. So to do that column, I'm just going to call it age group. Age group, because that is what I want the column to represent. Okay. Equal to. I'm going to use the switch function, because the switch function actually helps us to evaluate an expression against the list of values. So basically what this one does is, for everything I give it, it returns the first result that matches. So it will return true. That's what I'm going to put. So it's basically checks the condition, and if it is true, it will answer for each of them, and else it will answer for each of them. So basically we're just going to put our switch, and it gives us, you give it an expression, you give it the values and what you want it to print. So with this, now you know what the expression is. So for example, I want to use the true, so it checks. Okay, next thing I wanted to do is I'm going to give it the value. So I wanted to check my retail sales table. I want you to check the age column in the table, and then if the age column is less than 20, okay, less than 20, I needed to type, I needed to type under 20, and then we're just going to close that one real quick. We're going to put our comma. So you do the same thing for all the different values. If you can see the top here where it says is value 1, result 1, value 2, result 2, up until your else. Okay, so you can just use that. So anyway, I've put my under 20. I'm going to do the same thing. I need to check for the next age range. So that is those that are between. So if it's greater than or equal to 20, and so you use the AND function on your keyboard, and as well check the table if the age again is, since I want it to be between 20 and 29, so if it's less than 30, right? So if the age again is less than 30, then basically print. So I'm just going to put my comma. I need it to print between the age of 20 to 29, since it's less than, right? So 20 to 29. Okay, I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to put my comma to give it the next condition. Yeah, it's a seeing the same value 3, result 3. So same thing, you just continue doing it. So I'm just going to do the remaining really quick. So I've just finished the remaining. I did the same thing, greater than or equal to 30, and if it's less than 40, it falls between 30 to 49. Same thing for greater than or equal to 40, and it falls under 50, so 40 to 49. And then for any other one that it doesn't recognize, I want it to print unknown. I closed my bracket for the switch, and I committed it. So what this actually helps us to do is that it helps us to analyze our sales in different groups. So now instead of having 18, 19, 20, 21, we have them in groups. So you have basically like 20 to 30, you have below 20, you have 20 to 29, you have 30 to 39, you have 40 to 49, and you have everybody else above 50 plus, which really helps, because imagine if you had to put your bar chart with different numbers, you won't be able to really represent it. So yeah, this provides a breakdown for us, and you can use it for your total sales, total quantities sold for each of these groups. So yeah, that's all for this one. I'm just going to save it. So next thing I want to do is, I think this is enough column. Next thing I want to do, I just want to create some measures. So to do, I'm just going to come here, and then I'm going to create a new measure. Okay, so the first one, as usual, I like to create first is my total sales, which we're just going to do the total of all the total amount that we've earned. So total sales will be equal to, as usual, the sum function, just like the first one that I showed you guys. And this time around, we're going to use our retail sales table, so total amount, and then you're just going to close it. So you're just going to save it. Your measure is here. So unlike the column, if you look closely, you don't have any new column here, because measure is like an aggregate. Now we will see it in our visuals, but you probably won't see it on your table. Okay, so next one we're going to create another one for quantity. So now, because we have quantity, I want to know how much we sold of everything regardless of type. With total quantity sold, you can eventually do it based on product category. You can eventually use it for gender. You can eventually use it for age, even dates. You can use it for different things. So I'm just going to do it because I believe it's very good. Total quality will actually be total quantity will be total quantity equal to the sum. So it's basically total quantity sold, equal to the sum of our quantity column. Okay, then we're going to close our bracket, and I'm just going to save this here. Next thing I want to do is I want to know the average sales per transaction. So I can see that they are all spending this price per unit, and I can see the total amount because they are buying different quantities. Now I want to see the average sales for each of these transactions. How much do our customers spend averagely in our store? Okay, so we're just going to create another measure for that. And just like I explained earlier, so for quantity sold, you're basically summing up all the values in the quantity column in your retail sales data set. It helps us for quantity sold, you're tracking volume. It even helps us identify like best-selling products and any trends that we have in our sales volume. For our average sales per transaction, this actually helps you to provide insights into typical transaction values, and yeah, the value helps you to understand the average value of your transactions. So for this one, we're going to use average sales. I want to put per transaction, but I feel like it's long, so I'm just going to put average sales equal to, and this one we're going to use the average function. So the average, and we needed to check the average function for our total amount, and then I'm just going to close the bracket. So we're just going to save it. We'll use it later when we come to our visualization. Same thing I want to do, I think we have product category, yes. So because I have product category, I want to check, I want to filter it based on my sales based on product category. So I'm going to use calculate, because calculate changes the context in which data is evaluated. Then I will use sum for the same thing. So let me just create the measure. I need sum because I need it to calculate all the money or all the amount in my total amount column. And then I'm going to use the ALLEXCEPT function because I need it to remove filters except for my product category column. And this actually helps me to understand which categories contribute the most to our revenue, and it helps us identify the high revenue product categories. So yeah, I'm just going to put sales by category. I don't like it too long. So sales by category, and we're just going to call our calculate as usual. And first thing I needed to use my sum of retail sales data set, my total amount column, and then we're going to close the bracket for the sum, and then we're going to put our comma. What is going to use, so you're basically passing two things to it, and I needed to use ALLEXCEPT because I want it as like a filter. Okay, so it needs to see my for ALLEXCEPT I needed to see my table, my retail sales table, and the product category under my retail sales. Okay, and I think that's all. Okay, I've not closed one, and then 2. Okay, so this should work actually. Right, so we've done sales by category. Next thing, we have male, female, and I want to know the sales by gender. So I'm still going to use calculate because I can parse things into it. So with calculate now, I can still filter it to only sales for gender, not general sales. So I'm going to create that measure as well. So that measure will be sales by gender. Sales by gender equal to we're going to use our retail sales total amount column, but first of all I forgot I have to put my calculate that I'm going to give. So first thing it needs to look at, basically it needs the first expression, and my first expression I want to give it is the sum of the columns. Now there's something called nested formula in DAX. So instead, since I've already done total sales, which is basically my first measure, you can just put your total sales measure in here and you can just use it. So total sales, and just put comma since I've already calculated it initially, and then I'm going to put my ALLEXCEPT for the filter. Okay, and then the first retail data set, I'm going to put a comma, and I need to check specifically I want to just look at gender. So I'm just going to close that, close the first one and close the second one, and yeah, this should work. So yeah, so sometimes when you've created a measure, you can reuse it into another measure. So it's called like nested. You can do one inside another, and in Power BI this is used for like really complex formulas or really complex computation or manipulations or analysis, really, but it's really helpful. Okay, so yeah, this is for sales by gender. So from now on I'm going to try and be using DAX formulas, or sorry, DAX measures that we have already created. Yeah, I think we've done sales by gender. What else can we do? I know I've already done one for each group. We already have our grouping for each group here. We can do sales growth for every year, so we can calculate previous year sales compared to now. I can see that we have total amount, we have date. Yeah, I think we can actually do that. So we're just going to try to calculate sales growth for year over year, and this measure actually calculates your sales last year, this year, and we're going to use functions like same period last year, if function to check the condition and return one value for us. So yeah, let's just get started. New measure. So I'm just going to check sales growth, sales growth, and year over year. Okay, this didn't actually work because our data I think stops at January 1st, 2024. So yeah, it won't really work. So we're just going to remove that. Another thing I can do is I have different customers. I want to know the lifetime value of these customers. Do we have recurring customers? I'm just going to check here to see if we have some that appear more than once. Okay. So because to do that, you can actually check the total amount that every customer has spent in your store. I'm just going to try and do it. Let's just try and do it. So a new measure. We've already finished this. Just going to come to my table and create a new measure. So we're going to call this one the live customer lifetime value. Now I know most likely this our data set just has maybe one person coming twice, maybe one person. Most of them are coming once. But we're just going to see. Our visual will tell us the lifetime value. So as usual, you're going to use calculate because I'm going to pass two things and I need it to filter based on customer ID and total amount. So as usual, I needed to check my total sales measure that we created earlier, and we're just going to put a comma, and then I'm going to invoke my all except since I needed to filter it, and then we need it to see the table, first table. You put a comma, and then now I need it to see customer ID because that exactly is what I'm trying to filter it for. So we're just going to close my two brackets and we're going to save it. Okay, now another thing we can do is we can create. So next thing I want to create is profit margin. But profit margin, we need total amount, we need revenue, and we need cost of goods sold. And here we have price per unit, which is not the same. If I was to do this, I will need to use total amount, I'll subtract it by cost of goods sold, and then divide it by total amount. But I don't have these parameters and I only have price per unit. Okay, so to do that, I will have to break down the calculation because basically, let me just differentiate it. So price per unit is like the selling price of one item. So it's basically like the amount a customer will pay to purchase maybe 1 unit of a product. It's normally part of revenue calculation. Now, cost of goods sold, on the other hand, are all the direct costs that are attributed to the production of the good that is sold by a company. So this will include like cost of materials, labor directly, every other thing that is used to create the product. So for examples, in materials and labor, to produce 1 unit of a product maybe cost $30. That's the cost of goods sold for that unit, right? So anyway, an example to explain this before I go on to creating my measure is let's use so we have maybe a product, maybe a widget, and we have the price to be maybe $50 price per unit, and then we have cost of goods sold per unit as $30. So when a customer buys one widget, what happens? The price per unit will be 50. The cost of goods that was sold is $30. Then our profit is now basically 50 minus 30. So it's basically the price per unit minus the cost of goods sold. So the profit is $20. Now, if we're going to use this price per unit and cost of goods sold in DAX calculation, we need to have quantity, we need to have price per unit, and we also need to have cost of goods sold. But here, we only have price per unit, we have quantity, and we have total amount. But we really still want to create our profit margin. So what we need to do is, first of all, we're going to try and create our cost of goods sold from what we have. We're going to calculate it because we have price per unit, and we're just going to make an assumption. Okay, so the assumption I'm going to make here is, so since we don't have a cost of goods sold, we can use a simple example. So we're going to assume maybe the cost of goods sold, or we're going to assume the percentage of sales is, for example, maybe 60% of the total amount. So we're going to create a calculated column. So I'm just going to create a new column, and I'm going to calculate profit margin using an assumed cost of goods sold. So here I'm just going to assume my cost of goods sold, so cost of goods sold, and we're going to say maybe you should check the retail sales. You should check I need to check total amount. Okay, and then basically whatever is in total amount, because I'm assuming it's 60% of the total amount, that's what I'm assuming. I'm just going to tell it to multiply it by, sorry, where's my, okay, it's working. So 0.60 basically, which is still 60%. So this is actually supposed to create an assumed cost. for our cost of goods sold. So what is going to happen now, our column is going to, so for example, price per unit here is 25 and the cost of goods sold is 30. So for each of them is going to multiply them by 0.60, and this is our assumed cost of goods. So now it may be different, but because I really still want to know the profit margin, I'm using whatever data I have to create it. Okay, now to create the profit, we're going to create a new measure. So I'm just going to come here and we're just going to create, or we can even create a column, to be honest, to have a profit. Let's create a column. So we're going to create a column here so that we have a profit column in our table, and we can use it for different things. So we're just going to say profit is equal to, I'm just going to check it should use my retail sales and just subtract it by this cost of goods sold that I just created. Because to create, basically you're calculating profit by subtracting the cost of goods sold from your total amount. So total amount is what I needed to do first, and then I needed to subtract it from this cost of goods sold that I just created. So retail cost of goods sold, and yeah, this should be able to give us our profit. Okay, so we're going to say that this is our profit. Okay, so our profit for this one is $20, our profit for this one is $40, our profit for this one $20. You can see all of that. This is really helpful. And the next thing I want to do is, for profit margin, you normally divide your profit divided by total amount. And earlier we didn't have profit, that is why I created the profit column. So now that we have profit, I'm just going to create another column, and I just wanted to calculate the profit margin on each item. So I'm just going to put profit margin is equal to, we're going to use divide. Okay, and we need to divide our retail sales table. I need to divide our profit, okay, with, so comma, and what I need to divide, I need it from total amount. So I'm just going to type total amount, and then it's going to bring it up, and then I'm just going to close the bracket. So this is, we're just going to save this. By calculating our profit now, we have our profit, we have our profit margin. Okay, and our profit margin here, which is really good. So I'm just going to go straight. There's some, I have date, and there are some time intelligence functions that we can do in Power BI. So you can basically calculate the total sales amount for the same period in the previous year. You can do the same thing from beginning of the year to current date. You can do the same thing from month to date. You can do the same thing for quarter to date. And yeah, I just like to do it. So as usual, you use the calculate function, and I'm just going to do briefly for each of them. So basically, first one I'm going to create a measure. Let's come here and we create a measure. So what I want this measure to do is to calculate my total sales for last year. So we're just going to total sales last year equal to, we're going to use my calculate, and then I need to check the sum, or since we have total sales, we're just going to call it here. So total sales, so that it doesn't, I don't have to type sum total sales. You can just use the measure that we've already created doing the same thing. And we're just going to put comma. Then we need the same period last year, because what we're trying to evaluate is the sales amount for the same period last year. Now we can only do that for January really, but let's see what we have here. So same period last year, and the table, we need the retail sales date column, and we're just going to close it. Okay, I didn't close. I think this is supposed to be okay. Right. So yeah, these are total sales last year. I'm just going to copy this because what I'm about to do is the same thing. Okay, the same thing, we just have to change some of the functions. So I'm just going to create another measure for the total sales year to date, which is YTD. So to do that, I'm just going to paste it so it's faster. You can do the same. And we're just going to put here YTD, and we'll put YTD, calculate sum, and here I'm just going to change it to bits YTD. Okay? Bits YTD basically helps us to calculate total this amount from the beginning of the year to the current date. So dates YTD. Okay, and yeah, this is good. Okay, so we're just going to save it too. Next thing I'm going to do, I want to create another one as well, and this time around I want to create it for month. So same thing, I'm just going to paste it, and I'm just going to type total sales MTD and change this to dates MTD. So dates MTD, and I'm just going to save it. So you can do the same thing. This makes your life easier. And I also like to see quarterly, so I'm still going to add the quarter. We have QTD, just like we did in class. So I'm just going to create a new measure again, and this time around we're going to call it total sales QTD. Okay, so total sales QTD. Sorry, and then we're just going to change here to dates QTD. Dates QTD. Okay, so with this now you can see things from like beginning of the quarter, beginning of the month for MTD, and this really helps when you're dealing especially with large data sets. This one is just 2023 and 2024, and I doubt we even have January of 2023. So, but anyway, let's see what we can do. So we're just going to go straight into our visualizations. And yeah, so we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think this is good. So we can just go ahead and go to our visualizations. So the next thing I want to do is check the age distribution of my customers. Since I have age group and I have customer ID, I want to know how many of my customers fall around 50 plus, how many of them fall around 30 to 39, 20, 29, and even below 20. So to do that, I'm just going to create a clustered column chart. Clustered column chart because it helps us to visualize. This will help us visualize like numbers in each age group, providing insight into their age demographics of the customer base. So I'm just going to this is what I have. I'm just going to drag my age group to my y-axis and my customer ID to my y-axis. So if you can see clearly, it actually did a count of customer ID. So basically, for 50 plus, I have about 19 customers. For 2029, I have 16. For 40 to 49, we have 15. We have 30 to 9, we have 11, and then we have under 20 about 4, which is really good because now I know who are my target customers. So we're just going to keep it. Now you can do this for different products, so you can do it for different categories as well. You want to know the categories and the age group. We're going to do that too. But anyway, next thing I want to know is I want to know the age group. So sales by age group. I want to know total sales for each of these age groups. Now I just know that these are my customers. They're not necessarily people that have made sales, even though my data shows everybody has actually made sales. But I want to know the total sales for each of these age groups. Okay, so I don't know. I've already finished my dashboard. Okay, might as well just create page 2. And what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to create a bar chart, and I'm just going to drag my age group here and total sales because that is really what I want to see. So just here. And now if you look at this visual, we have our age group. So we have, turns out that total sales is still 50 plus, which is really good. 2029 is the next one. 30 to 39 is the next, and 40 to 49 is the almost around the end. And under 20, this is what they're bringing. So anyway, this part actually shows us like total sales of each age group and it helps us to identify which age groups generate the most revenue in our organization or in our business. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this here. Another thing we can do is I want to know profit margin by product and for different dates. So I'm just going to create a bar chart, column chart, sorry, and then I'm going to drag my profit margin and product category. So I have now, I know this is some product category. I'm showing profit margin for clothing is about 140, for electronics about 136, and for beauty is about 122. But I also want to know them for different dates. So I know throughout the year it wasn't like this. It may have changed, it may have fluctuated. So I'm just going to drag my dates and just put it. Okay, so by putting the dates, we now have our drill down. Okay, so now you can go down in hierarchy, you can check for 2023, 2024. 2024 is almost insignificant, but yeah. So you can go down to your first quarter to see for each of these items how much was the profit margin in each of these quarters. Each of these months you can go up. Okay, you want to check quarter 2. So yeah, as you can see, it keeps fluctuating. So some of these quarters, clothing isn't the highest. But to make it easier, you know what? I'm just going to drag our product category to legend so that we're able to use colors exactly. So with this, it's so much easier. So July, this is what we have. You can go up, down, and just keep moving. Go down again. No, for see all the quarters. These are the quarters. You want to see how the distribution for each of these in each of these months. Now this is really, really good because I can do a lot with this information. Apart from it helping me identify which product has the highest profit margin, it can also help me in product performance analysis because it shows profit margin for each product and at different times. So yeah, this is really, really good. So we're just going to keep it here. Okay. Then next thing I want to do is I want to do total sales year to date. I don't know if I did it here. Okay, I have done it there. So I'm just going to leave that. So I want to know total performance by date of due because I remember in my date I had first, second, third, fourth. So I'm just going to try, let's try a bar chart. So we're just going to drag a bar chart. And then I'm going to drag my date axis. So this is date. And I'm just going to set it to display only date of the week. So you're going to come here. Oh, sorry, I'm going to drag total sales. I forgot to do that. So I'm going to, now if you, I want you to just show me day of the week. So I'm just going to remove month, quarter, and year. So for day of the week, meaning I can see first, second, third, fourth. So why these are like days that we've made a lot of sales. And yeah, so the day that we made the most sales was 23rd, and this is really good for showing how your sales in an organization perform on different days of the week. This helps you to identify like peak shopping days, and you can identify the best and worst performing days of the week by sales. So yeah, so I'm just going to keep this here, even though I like to keep it as week because I like to think this visual is too bulky. Or you know what, let's just use it like this. Okay, so we can just make it shorter and just keep it here. What else can we do? I think I did a year. Okay, we only have details for this particular one. Anyway, so I want to see our cumulative sales from beginning of the year to current date. Other things you can do are, so you can do, if you want to check maybe total quantity sold by maybe product category. So for each product, how many things did we sell? You can use this. You can use your funnel chart. It will show you the amount, total quantity sold, and percentage. Same thing for all of them. You can also use your waterfall chart to take you all of them and give you the total. You can also use this bar chart doesn't really represent it because the difference is not really much. So, but we're just going to use it with I'm just going to leave it as our final chart, and I'm just going to keep it here. Another thing you can do for these measures that we've created, you want total sales, so you can just drag your average sales here, and you can create a card and just put it there. Okay. Then I'm just going to create another page. Today I'm not all for the design. We have nothing with location, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Next thing I want to do is you can actually put the total profit that you've generated. I mean, every business wants to know their total profit, so you can use the card, or you can use the multi-row card as well. But I personally prefer to use the card always. So you can just put this sum of profit that you've made. If you want to know your profit margin, you can do the same, and you just put a card, and you can have it here. Then total quantity of items you sold. So how many items have we sold? We're also going to put a card. So this is total items sold. Total sales that we did, you can put it here. You can also put a card to know total sales. So you can drag all of these total sales last year to date. This is what you have. You can put it as a card as well. Considering our sales, total sales month to date. Okay, so all of this anyway, they give you insights into your data. So total sales month to date, you can add. Total sales quarter to date as well, you can add it. So anyway, these are just some of the things you can. These are just some of the things you can do. So yeah, and I think that's also, we have maps, we have multi-row card, we have KPI for any gauges if you have any KPIs. You have matrix. Basically, I want to represent quantity by maybe product category. So it will just give you like in a table form everything. Okay. Same thing with the table functionality. And yeah, these are just some of the things. So you guys can explore around it. My questions for the test will come from just these little visuals. Or since you guys have dataset, I might as well just ask you anything I want to ask you using datasets. All you have to do is drag and drop the visuals that I'm asking you about. So for example, just like the last test, I have people telling me the answer is not in the dashboard. Okay, when I'm asking you for something for a particular month, I'm not asking you, once you click on, for example, I'm asking you for first quarter for a particular item. I'm asking you to go and click on it. So if I ask you the distribution of gender for a particular month, when I click on April, what happened? It has changed. It's no more the large female that we had. And I no more click on it, it has gone back to normal. So for each of them, sometimes you may have to click. If I ask you a particular month, I'm definitely asking you to drill down. Definitely. Same thing here as well. For page 2. So for whatever it is I ask, if it's product quantity, clothing, yeah, all of this, basically, I can ask you different things. Average sales, all of these cards that I put here, they are the main reason I created these measures, to be honest. I will most likely ask you. But maybe not these ones here. I might ask you from some of the measures that are here. So yeah, I think that's all for today. I'll see you guys in our next video. So yeah, if you guys like what you're seeing, I hope to continue these videos even after you guys finish your Power BI course. So if you want, if this is something you're interested in, maybe you should like the video, subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you guys in class on Saturday. So far, we've been able to create like sales trend over time, visual to represent sales trend over time. We've created sales by so total sales year to date. We've created by product category, we've created by gender, we've created by customer ID, by age group. We know the best performing age groups on which particular products, on which particular day as well. Day we can even do for month, you can do for year if you follow all the steps that I have done. You can see the best performing product categories, you can see total amount of quantities sold, you can see how many quantities were even sold to a particular age group. So you can just do, for that you can just drag the total quantity sold, an age group. So now we know how many, the quantity of everything that we sold to different age groups. To make it more visually appealing, or at least to have labels, it's easier to when there's different colors. You can just come and drag the age group to your legend. So now you have, sorry, I'm this clustered one too. So yeah, you have them in different colors, which is so much easier. You know how many quantity units of items you've sold to all these different age groups, and this helps you to make better decisions. So yeah, I think that's it.